Alright, so with a bunch of gaming laptops being released every year by Lenovo, now its roster has been updated with the LOQ. To be frank, that name is a bit easier to remember than some of the weird numbers and word combinations out there. But first of all, a huge thanks to Computer Store. Nevertheless, this is a gaming machine for people with low to medium budget. It starts with the updated RTX 4050 with 6GB VRAM and goes all the way up to RTX 4060 that have 8GB of VRAM. Interestingly, Lenovo offers the device in 95W version of both RTX 3050 and RTX 4050, while the top tier RTX 4060 option has 115W of TGP. This may mean that it will ship with the better cooling solution than the other two laptops. Now looking at the specs, it includes Intel Core i7-13620H CPU with 6 performance cores, 4 efficiency cores and a total of 16 threads, as well as NVIDIA RTX 4050 with 6GB VRAM and 95W of max TGP. 16GB of dual-channel RAM with a frequency of 5200 MHz, a 15.6-inch Full HD IPS display with a refresh rate of 144Hz, and last but not the least, a 512GB of M.2 NVMe Gen 4 SSD. Now for the connectivity, it comes with Wi-Fi 6.0 and Bluetooth 5.1. Starting with the build and design, the Lenovo LOQ, or you can call the LOQ, is a budget version of the Legion series, sharing same design elements like the extended back portion. The laptop features a metallic finish on the top of the lid, resembling the Lenovo IdeaPad Gaming 3i, with the addition of the LOQ logo on the top left corner. With dimensions measuring 21 by 25.9mm in thickness and a weight of 2.6 kilos. It strikes a not so good balance between the practicality and portability, but it is still better than the Dell G16 for an instance. The laptop's lid is a bit prone to flex, but the base is quite stiffer. Opening the lid with one hand reveals thin bezels surrounding the matte display. Noteworthy is the inclusion of the Full HD web camera on the top, a rarity in its price range, along with the e-shutter located on the right side of the device. The keyboard, available with the blue backlighting or a 4-zone RGB backlights on some units, includes a number pad and large arrow keys, offering really good key travel and clicky feedback. The touchpad with the Lenovo's so-called Mylar surface, measuring 75 by 120mm, provides a smooth texture, not as much as the glass surface, but it is good enough with decent tracking. A glance at the bottom panel reveals the speaker cutout as well as ventilation grills, enabling hot air to exit through 4 vents on the back and one on each side of the device. Now looking at the ports, the left side features a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port, supporting the power delivery of 140W and DisplayPort 1.4 output, along with a 3.5mm audio jack. On the right, there is a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-A port and the e-shutter switch. The back houses 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A ports, a LAN port, a HDMI 2.1 connector, and the power plug. Now moving on to the display, the IPS panel offers Full HD resolution with comfortable viewing angles and good contrast ratio, covering 53% of sRGB color gamut, 45% of NTSC and 42% of DCI-P3, which may mean the display colors will appear slightly dull. However, the absence of PWM for brightness adjustment and higher 144Hz of refresh rate, it's a really good display for the gaming purpose. Opting for the RTX 4060 variant introduced a 1600p 165Hz display with G-Sync support and full sRGB color coverage, with 4 hours of web browsing and 2 hours of video playback with its 60Wh battery. The culprit behind this appears to be the lack of advanced refresh rate control on the display. Regarding audio quality, the speaker delivers crisp and clear sound with more than enough volume. Though lacking in bass, nevertheless they outperforms other laptops in the same price range. Now moving toward the heart of the laptop, the CPU. It has Intel Core i7-13620H, which is a 10-core CPU with 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores and a total of 16 threads. It is based on the Raptor Lake architecture, which is built on the 7nm process and has a minimum TDP of 35W. Talking about the real story, which is in fact the performance. So to test the performance, we will run several benchmarks, and we will start with the Cinebench 2024. Thanks to the improved clock speeds, the i7-13620H should be able to beat the older i7-12650H, offers more E-cores and therefore a clearly better multi-core performance. The single-core performance of those B-cores is also very good, as the 13620H managed to match the Ryzen 7 7735HS, giving it a massive lead over the 12650H by 30% and 7% faster than the Ryzen 7 7735HS. Now turning our attention to the Geekbench 6.2 benchmark, the 13620H showcases a commendable improvement over its predecessor. It showed a 9% boost in performance compared to the 12650H and an impressive 10% acceleration against the 7735HS. Now analyzing the PC Mark's overall score, the 13620H outperforms the 12650H with a substantial 4% gain. Now getting into 3D Mark test, specifically the times by benchmark, the 13620H boasts a slim 0.6% advantage over the 12650H and a more pronounced 2% lead over the 7735HS. Meanwhile, in the Firestrike benchmark, it exhibits a marginal 0.3% lead over the 12650H, but trails behind the 7735HS with a modest 1%. In the demanding workload of the Blender 3.3 classroom, the 7735HS emerges as the best in the performance with an impressive rendering time of 376 seconds. Nevertheless, the 13620H showcases its performance at 12650H with a rendering time of 449 seconds as compared to the 390 seconds of 7735HS, highlighting a substantial leap in the rendering efficiency. These benchmarks results collectively underscore the 13620H's improved performance, confirming its position as a true successor of the 12650H with improved capabilities across various computing tasks. Now looking at the GPU, it's a brand new 6GB RTX 4050, the max TGP of 95W, and is based on the latest Ada Lovelace architecture with 4nm of process, which on paper means really good performance to efficiency ratio. And as you all know, the RTX 4000 series GPUs comes with the DLSS 3 frame generation, so we could see big performance improvement as compared to the older RTX 3000 series. However, we will never know the improvement unless we play the games. Therefore, let us move right into the gaming test, followed by a benchmark graph comparison with the other GPUs. In GTA 5 at the maximum 1080p Ultra settings, I observed an average of 132 FPS. However, it's important to note that the testing that feature was not possible on the GTA 5. However, we successfully tested the frame generation in Cyberpunk, employing various profiles to access the GPU's performance. In the first profile, at 1080p with maximum settings, including ray tracing set to maximum, the average FPS hovered around 18. While this may not be playable, it's essential to recognize the Cyberpunk's GPU-intensive nature, making the FPS quite acceptable, which may help to get a little more juice out of the RTX 4050 for a little better FPS in the games. Moving to the second profile with DLSS 3 frame generation enabled, DLSS super resolution set to ultra performance, ray tracing turned off, and resolution set to 1080p maximum, we achieved an average FPS of 35. In the third and the last profile, only with the DLSS 3 frame generation enabled and the graphics set to 1080p low, we achieved an impressive FPS of 120, showcasing the GPU's power in less demanding settings. But the real proof of the improved performance is in the benchmarks. Let's take a look at the performance graph comparison. Here we will stack up the RTX 4050 against the other GPUs. So let's get started. In terms of cooling, you get 3 heat pipes, which connect to 4 heat sinks. The 2 fans blow the heat away. In addition, there are a couple of heat spreaders that dissipate the heat of the graphic memory and the VRMs. Turning to the thermal performance, a stress test using the Fermat initiates at a modest 39 degrees Celsius, gradually peaking at 73 degrees Celsius. This outcome suggests that the thermal management leans toward the cooler side of the operational spectrum. Memory-wise, you get 2 SODIMM slots that supports DDR5 RAM up to 16GB each. As far as the storage goes, there are 2 M.2 PCI export slots that support Gen 4 SSD up to 1TB each. So, did the Lenovo do the right thing to introduce the LOQ brand in the market? The answer to this question lies in another one. Is the LOQ much different from the IdeaPad gaming? The view, no. It seems like a situation in which the manufacturer is selling same laptops with 2 different names, depending upon the region, but they are not competing in the same region. Unless Lenovo changes its plan for the IdeaPad gaming series as a whole, I see no point in selling both notebooks in one market, regardless of how good they are. So that wraps up today's video. So if you want to buy this laptop or any other variant of it online, then you can find the best deals by clicking on the links in the description box down below. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have any suggestions or requests regarding this video or any other future video, leave them down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. I will see you in the next video. Till then, stay awesome, keep spreading positive vibes. Peace out.